we all need the best talent. However, you know that the competition to win the best talent for your organization becomes more and more hard, more and more difficult, more and more, well, challenging on any front or frontier you're actually fighting at the moment. And now we have to talk about how do you actually win the best talent, because you see that some organizations seem to do pretty well while others constantly struggle. And let's look at the problems and then how to do it better. So first we have to see there's one major issue, and one of the main issues is that most organizations act based on opinions only without looking at the scientific evidence. When I see how many organizations still have completely outdated recruiting processes, from acting way too slow, from being completely random and delivering catastrophic interviews, up to doing completely random methods where they say, oh, we made good experiences with playing a bit of a game with you, so now we play Taboo, the card game with you, and then they think they can read something out of the person. That is not only unscientific, that is complete and utter nonsense. And of course, applicants say thank you, no thank you to these jobs, except when they are in dire need of money. Then they say, yes, okay, I'm going to start with you until I find something better, which is probably in 6 weeks' time. And then you lose people who you just put on the job. And that is only one problem I'm talking about here. HR normally has way too much work to do, not because HR is inefficient, but because HR has to do recruiting besides all the other tasks they have. And I don't know how in today's times you expect someone to do recruiting as a side hustle or a side job, because there's so much to do at the moment, so much to talk to people, so much to keep in touch with people. Having someone doing it on the side does not really work. Often organizations lack the structure, and then you have catastrophic interviews. Normally, HR is doing way better interviews than the leaders, because often many people who do interviews have never been professionally trained. And by the way, for many years, that was the same with me. And then I visited a course with Professor Susan Silby. She's the leading expert on interviewing at Massachusetts Institute of Technology, at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, And there I learned how to do interviews properly and how to get information out of people and how to actually conduct interviews where people actually like the whole interview process at the end. But the problem is that many and way too many leaders still have the attitude of, look, we offer you work, you better convince me that we give you some. That attitude is outdated, to say the least. So how to do it better? Let's look at that. So first, the job ad. Most job ads are a catastrophe, a straightforward catastrophe. So when you have a job ad, the first paragraph clearly has to show what is the deal, what is it that you offer. I'll give you an example. I often see job ads which start with company XYZ is a worldwide leading, quality-focused, human-focused, with very flat hierarchy, blessed organization that is basically perfect. Big piece of information here. So first, no one cares. Second, no one believes that. And third, I still do not know a single bit about the job. I want to know my first paragraph, because when someone searches for a job, they're opening job ads and they open 10 at the same time, and they quickly bring it down to 5 or 3, which they're really into. So the first phrase in every single job ad has to be where you say, for example, we are looking for personalities who prefer to work in sales, in field sales with a high affinity or high talent to do lots of phone calls during the day, or a high number of phone calls during the day. So there you very clearly said it's a sales job, you're in field, so you're traveling a lot and you do lots of phone calls. So people know what they did, and people know what you're looking for, and they know what you expect them to do. And then they can say yes or no. After that, in your job ad, you have to say, what do you offer? What's the profile you're looking for? And what are the tasks? In that order and not in any other order. And of course, some organizations now think, well, what do we actually offer? And I can tell you, if you have that question mark on your mind, there are actually 2 options. Option 1, you offer so much that you already consider it all normal, while at the same time, it is not. Or you're sitting there and you exactly know that you're not offering much. And I'm talking about these 1970s office buildings somewhere in the suburbs of some city. Not a good location, not easy to reach, not easy to get away from, high expectations, low payment. And you are one of them where you say, welcome to the 1970s, 1980s cubicle moment, where you sit here and work your way through the day, and you just hope not to be in complete despair at the end of the day. When you're one of them, you have work to do, and no miracle can help you. It is just work to do. But when you look into what do we offer? So when you look into what do you offer, there's a simple trick how you can find out if it's a real benefit or not. If you do the opposite of what you offer, and you come to the conclusion it's a pity, then it's a proper benefit. I give you an example to make it more practical. So let's say you say, we offer a job bike. So you offer people that you have like a pool of bikes and they can take bikes home and use them privately, for example. You offer a job bike. Opposite of that is you offer no job bike, which is a pity. And there you see it's a real benefit because bikes are expensive. You can use them privately. So there are lots of benefits connected with that. So you now can see that the we offer part is highly relying on when you turn it around, when you look at the opposite of what you actually want to say, the opposite always means it is a real benefit when you say it's a pity. However, when you turn the whole thing around and the opposite is an absolute embarrassment. So, for example, if you say, we offer you a nice work-life balance, the opposite of that will be, we offer you no work-life balance, which is an embarrassment, to say the least. Then it is not a benefit. However, I still read many job ads where they say, oh, we offer work-life balance, and we have a free coffee, where you think, look, when you pay people well, they can buy their own coffee. By the way, the same applies to a fruit basket. Fruit basket is nice to have, but not that big of a benefit anymore. These times are over. Hello, 2005 is not today. So as soon as you switch your offer around and you get to the conclusion it's a pity not to have it, then it's a real benefit, put it in your job ad. When you get to the next part of the job ad, your profile, only put the necessary items in there. If you ask for a lot more, which many do, I read job ads, and this whole podcast episode happened because I once more was booked for 4 speeches at one of the most important decision-maker recruiting fairs in northern Germany just last week. And I read job ads where they say, preferably master's degree qualified. And in the same job ad, you read that you pay 20, 25 euros an hour. What do you expect? Of course, people don't show up. If you don't pay well, you better are very modest about what you ask for. So in the profile, only mention anything that is necessary. And when it comes to the task where you describe what people should do, only put things in there that tick the box of the 3R: relevant, real, and right. So relevant means only what you really need to do, especially when you have IT job ads, when you have a 45-year-old Tomcat database and someone should take care of it, but you don't want to pay them properly, but let's put Tomcat in there. No, only put relevant stuff in there. So the second is real. Anything you offer has to be real and right, so you have to keep your promises. Because if it's not real, so you ask for something and it doesn't happen in reality, I'll give you an example, remote work. When you say, we offer remote work, and in reality it is, yeah, you can ask your boss, but it's a bit difficult and we don't really do it. So maybe like a day per month or so, then you shouldn't have put the offer of remote work into your job ad. And right means you simply do not lie in your job ad. And it's unbelievable how many lies I read in job applications, and what I read from people who applied there. And the real world feedback is there are many lies out there. Stop doing that. So that's aspect number 1, the job ad. Number 2, the application process. Always be quick. So that means an immediate confirmation when the applying person sends you anything, no matter on which channel, you immediately confirm that this arrived. This can be done automatically by autoresponder with an email, for example, but it can be done in person as well. In a very timely manner, you will have an interview. Timely manner, preferably in a couple of days, not longer. And by the way, stop doing a ridiculous amount of rounds for interviews. In the English-speaking world, you are as inefficient as inefficiency can be. It is unbelievable. Sometimes you have assistant roles where you have to talk to 3, 4, 5, 6 people for jobs that pay less than 40,000 a year. Who do you think you are? So it is this attitude of, oh, I want to talk to the person as well because I am important. I'm a manager. Yeah. I'm a supervisor, so I have to talk to them. And also at the end of the year, you can say, well, I'm doing recruiting here as well. And then these people who never were professionally trained to do any interview basically do nothing else than putting their ego forward, asking for more and more and more and more demands, while at the same time offering very little in return. And you wonder why you struggle in recruiting? Hear the news. It's your own fault. The reason why many, especially German-speaking companies, are more efficient is because they normally stick to 1, 2, 3 rounds, many of them to 1. So probably reconsider how many people do really need to talk to the person applying. And then, of course, there must be a quick decision. Yes or no, very quickly. That applies from the very beginning to the very end. Remove any process that is redundant. And by the way, no one accepts anymore today that you say, oh, sorry, the interview can only happen in 2.5 weeks' time because I'm on vacation right now or I'm on annual leave. Well, is there no one else who can do an interview? And by the way, if the answer now is yes, you know where you should work on. Last but not least, if you want to have numbers, you need to, from the first contact to the final signature of the contract, should be somewhere in between 28 to 30 days, not any longer. And we know that many companies are far away from that. And that is why you struggle. And when you now say, which company can do that in less than a month? For example, IBM. And when you're not as big as IBM, and there's a certain likelihood that you're not, there's no excuse for you. It is only about planning properly. The goal is to have an emotional commitment as quickly as possible, because that is what makes people decide in your favor and stay even when other offers come to the table. They will simply stay with you because they are emotionally committed to you. That is the goal. And by the way, many rounds of talking nothing or nonsense do not create an emotional commitment. You only get the people who want some money and get out of unemployment probably, or maybe just want to get away from one toxic employer and just have a bridging moment to then have a sabbatical. You do not want to be that employer, do you? Excellent. Last but not least, looking at the organizational skills you need. So first, you need an excellent introduction when a new person arrives, especially when you have remote work in place. Please do that properly. Tell them who arrived, why you hired them, make an introductory round, everything you need so people properly arrive within their teams. And as soon as they get their whole onboarding, telling people my door is always open, and you know that 80% of the day you don't have time for anyone, that is not onboarding. Onboarding is an active process, has to be structured and documented. And not or, structured and documented. And of course, be sure and please check before, do you keep all the promises that you made? Because if there's anything that you promised and people realize that you didn't keep your promise, or you say, well, maybe in some month, in some distant future with no date I can tell you, people will be gone quicker than they have arrived. One of the main issues remains that often people do not stick to the facts. Someone has an opinion and you listen to a certain manager based on their opinion and their statement of, I've been in the industry for 20 years. No one cares. Scientific evidence couldn't care less about your, I've been in the industry, blah, 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 blah. No one cares about these lines. Facts have to rule over opinion. Any kind of chit-chat or excuses you make around that damages your organization. And the question now really is, where do you stand on recruiting? Are you still doing what you did 10, 15, 20 years ago and never changed it? Or are you striving to be one of the more modern organization that is actually able to attract, retain, and develop talent? That is your decision. And of course, I published about this. So first, thank you very much to all our listeners. We again had amazing rankings in the recent past and in the recent weeks. You can see it on our Instagram, social media, LinkedIn, etc. If you now want to have a chat with me, because you might have some aspects where you say, hey, I need some clarification on this, happy to do so. Just drop me an email, nb@nb-networks.com. If you want to have something very specific or talk about something very specific where you say, hey, we need either training for people who need to do better interviews, or we need someone who speaks at our event, or some coaching for the leaders, happy to do that as well. But we can also just chat about your aspects. nb@nb-networks.com. Just drop me a line and we take it from there. The second aspect I always highly recommend is if you want to get access to anything I publish, because some people find it on the internet, but then it's behind a paywall. Yeah, that's how magazines work. If you want to get anything free of charge, sign up for the expert letter, the leadership letter. You have to go to expert.nb-networks.com, put your emails in there, and then you're sorted. Every Wednesday morning, you get an email very early in the morning, so you don't have to open it at midnight or shortly after midnight when I normally send it out. As soon as you have this email, there's free access. It's 100% content at free guarantee, expert.nb-networks.com. Thank you very much for signing up. And the third aspect is the most important one. Apply what you heard in this podcast, because only when you apply what you heard, you will see the benefits and the positive change in your organization that you obviously want to see. I wish you all the best doing so in your organization. Always happy to help. Let me know and drop me a line, and then we take it from there. And for the rest of the week, I wish you an amazing time, brilliant recruiting, and all the best talent coming to you and staying with you, because at the end of this podcast, there's only one thing left for me to say. Thank you very much for your time.